month.
You can start with today's date,
So
Chris, if you
you
want.
want me to start with my name, rank, and serial number? How about the blood pressure?
No. Serial, social security number 2, we could. So here we're with Jack Smith, and basically we're going to get his rundown of his World War II experience, and basically I'm going to take it away from there. What was your rank
When?
during World War II?
It went from private to sergeant,
Private to sergeant?
and that's another long story, but we'll get to it.
And that's what you ended with, sergeant?
Yeah. And even that wasn't right because the job I was doing as a forward observer called for staff. But somebody in the band had the staff rating because they were stretcher bearers and they did all that. And it didn't make it, in fact, let's just kind of go along. I know what you want, and we'll
Oh, you can
we'll
talk,
work
it's fine.
into it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. What group were you in? Like the division or platoon?
Well,
or
see, that's,
how does it work exactly?
well, I get drafted into the YD, which was activated down in Edwards
Okay.
in 41. Though, yeah, 41, I think. There might be before that. And so you want, when I get,
Basically, it was just what group were. I mean, platoon. I mean, obviously, there's like a division, like the I don't know,
It was with the Americal.
America.
But he can still,
that didn't, Marical didn't happen until
He was
after.
drafted.
Till after.
he wants to go in chronological order, I think, Chris.
Yeah,
It's
I
easier
thought
for
you
him.
That's fine.
wanted.
No, I was just basically getting this information just for when we send it in because they want to know where you're from and.
Well, that's what I was
Different.
trying to do up the top here.
Yeah.
Okay, get drafted March 11th to 12th in 41.
Okay.
I was, I think I was 22 at the time.
22 at the time.
I know I was here again. Back then, see, to me, it's a whole different thing. Maybe I should just talk in.
Sure, go for
Okay.
it. That's fine.
Back in Germany, creating problems over there in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So our people, President Roosevelt and them get excited. So that's why they had us register for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then they then they activated all National Guard outfits in different sections of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Then they were skeleton forces, so they had to draft us and fill us into these places.
Gotcha.
And that was, the first draft was in 41, and I, from Jamaica Plain, and 96 others on March 11th or 12th, get called to go to the local courthouse, and then they shipped us to Fort Devens,
Okay.
and that's where we get sworn in. Then we somehow or other, somebody must have shuffled the cards, and we get on a train, we, as they say, a group.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Edwards, down the Cape, and now we were put into the barracks and registered with whatever we were somebody was calling the shots.
Yeah.
We didn't have any yes or no. And so we wound up in the 180th Field Artillery on the 26th Yankee Division.
So there's 180 Field Artillery, and
Yeah.
that was, what division was that?
What?
What division was that?
26th.
26th Division.
The famous World War I outfit. So it took us, we did the basic training of how to march and carry a gun, all that. We were assigned to gun crews.
Gun crews.
There were four guns to the eight thing. I was, because of somebody reading my background or something, I wound up in the communications section.
Communication section.
Because they needed, according to the way the thing operated, they needed somebody at the guns to give forward the information to how to set up the sights and the ammo and all that, and needed a switchboard to go from the guns to the OPs to, and then to headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
So we ran wires all over to these things as part of the training and how to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went down the Cape to Truro for a weekend and shot out into the ocean. They had a tugboat full of barge way the hell out thing there. And we fired just to hear the guns go and all that. I even have pictures with the big prime movers, they call them, with dual front drive wheels and whatever on the sand dunes and all that. So anyway, that was the initial part of the thing. Then as we improved, we went a little more local. We went up to New Hampshire for a week or so and running around, setting up and that. Then it was getting real bad over in Europe in the upper echelon. So they had to push the training.
Speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, so they had the North Carolina maneuvers. They took all the available units and made a red army and a blue army, put banners on the trucks and things, so you red or blue, and wooden machine guns. and we drove down to North Carolina, and then we went into, somebody was having us, told us where to go and what to do and training and all this sort of stuff. And the regular, if you were in the field, you had to guard duty and cooking and the whole thing of how to exist.
Yeah.
And of course there was no return fire. Everything was blank. But we did learn and get accustomed to the guns, the big guns and all that. It was hard, it wasn't easy. So that went on for a couple of months down there. And so sometime in middle of December, we started back over the road to where we came from. Some people were out west, some down south, we were up here.
So basically everyone organized into the North Carolina
Yeah.
area and did this training and then separated again back to where they...
To their original things.
Gotcha.
So we went over the road for basically a week to get back to Edwards. Now, we pulled into Edwards at late at night, 11 o'clock at night or so, on December 7th. And we were all happy about it because we were going to get some time off. We were going to get a little furlough time. And it was getting close to Christmas and New Year's, so and now we're even thinking of our year would be up. We only had another 6 or 8 weeks to go for our time would be up and we'd be back, whatever. Well, anyway, so when we get to Edwards, there were other people in our barracks. So there was a little bit of pushing and shoving. That's my bunk. No, so it was really, it was comical, but it was, fortunately we were kind of adults. And because most of us were in our early 20s anyway, so we had been whatever. So anyway, they finally calmed us down and said, we'll straighten it out in the morning. Well, come the morning, Sunday morning, Beverly, we get up and the first sergeant is blowing his whistle like mad. Line up, got a message. Nobody leaves the area. We're at war.
Man.
You knew. Pearl Harbor. So
Right.
we didn't know Pearl Harbor, you know. So sooner or later it was explained to us that what the Japs did. So nobody left the area. We had to stay put. So in fact, I even have a letter that I wrote. I think it's dated the 7th or 8th or whatever it is, saying that normally I wouldn't be coming back to Boston for whatever, and but that we would try to call. Of course, everybody was on the phone one way or another, especially the New Bedford kids.
Yeah.
They were just down the road a bit. And but as I say, we were adults, and we worked together, and so there was a lot of things. So after the initial shock got over, and they did all the paperwork, now they had to rearrange things a little bit. Whether you're a gun crew or communications or medical, so all of that had to be kind of rearranged to see if they had enough people to do the right thing. Of course, behind the scene there was a lot of stuff going on that we didn't get to know. We had no control. We were only private first class. No, we weren't even private by this time. I don't think we get the first. So anyway, but we took it good, and then finally we did get a weekend pass, split us up, not everybody, but you know, and we get to go home and because it wasn't that much of a trip, and so now it's Christmas time, so they broke up so that somebody had to be at the camp all the time. So it was a kind of flip of the coin, who had to stay to keep the base going, and who could go home for Christmas. And those that went for Christmas had to be back so the others could go for New Year's. And well, it worked out.
Yeah,
That's good.
So right after New Year's, now we're getting real serious with our equipment. Now it's, you check that everything is A1. And shortly thereafter, we started to load it on flat cars. And took us a little bit of time, naturally. It was a lot of 12 big guns and trucks and all, the whole thing, was leaving. So eventually we got it all done. Then we get on the train, and we went to New York. January 20th. And we went to New York and pulled up to the dock, where the ships were, and we loaded on. Somebody had, the paperwork or whatever. So on the 22nd, everything was loaded. We sailed. No idea. Because we were artillery and used to noise and shooting guns and everything, they assigned our particular outfit to manning the one gun that they had on the tail end of the fruit, little banana boat. That's what it was. It was a banana boat that used to go to South America to thing, and they would have maybe 10, 15, 20 tourists, and the rest was, so they stripped the ship, and they put metal tiers of bunks downstairs, but because we were going to be part of the gun crew, we were up in the lounge, but it was on 5 high. You had about 15 inches between us. Well, anyway, the first night out, it's the middle of the night, cold January Atlantic thing, everything stopped. The engine stopped. Everybody was it was awful. Well, fortunately, they had I think it was a destroyer or something, kind of circling around us, while the others kept on going. So eventually, somehow or other, they get us going again, and we had to go like mad, and we caught up, and we went down the full length of the thing to the end of the Florida Keys, and we swung in through the Caribbean, over to the Panama Canal. Now, at least the weather was warm. And when we get, there's a lake, a freshwater lake over there between the part of the canal thing. That's the first time we had showers and things that, so we were stopped there while they were kind of reorganizing, and I think they're also trying to get something, food or whatever, because it was zero. So we were only there, I would say at the most a day, 2 at the very most, and now we sailed again, went out the other side. Nobody's saying where, and over the radios or the news thing, that I think that's when the Philippines fell or something. So we said, oh boy, then we headed for there. But we weren't sure. So they zigzagged for the whole month of February. Whole month of February.
It's on the boat for a whole month trying to get over.
The banana boat.
And that was really something, because they didn't have refrigeration, they didn't have, oh God, it was, so we were just ballast, more or less. And as I say, our little outfit was fortunately had a little bit of anything because we were part of the crew. Well, we broke down again just a day short of Melbourne,
Oh, jeez.
Tasmanian Sea. And I'm telling you, I found out after, after I get home years later, my brother-in-law was on another ship, a bigger ship. And he says, he knew because where we were and the ship and all that. He said, sometimes you'd look out and you wouldn't even see us.
Yeah.
And other times you'd be up there. So it was rough. Well, eventually we managed to get into Melbourne on, I don't know, it was March the 1st or
What year was that, Jack?
42.
Two,
42.
Yeah. And
So Melbourne, where's that?
southeast city of Australia.
Australia.
Yeah. Just to give you a thing, if you can picture the United States, Australia is as big as that.
Mm-hmm.
Miami would be Melbourne. Sydney would be New York. Brisbane would be Boston. We're up the coast, east
Yeah.
coast like that. Well, anyway, the first night they marched us, and of course we were still wobbly legs. So they
Probably for a whole week.
Yeah. So they walked us, fortunately it wasn't as far. Like, we wound up in a place that would be, in Boston, we call it the Common or the, something like that.
Yeah.
Only they were much bigger. So the first night we went there, and somehow or other, I was only a PFC if I was Sergeant of the Guard, which was, anyway. So, we spent the night there, and fortunately it was quiet and all that, but some of the guys did manage to find their way out of the park and to the suburbs or whatever, and I guess it was a good deal. But anyway, the next morning, walk us back to the city, and we put us on trains, and we went up to 120 miles northwest of Melbourne to Bendigo.
Bendigo.
Bendigo, that was it. Now, first of all, you gotta understand, this is a big number of people. So a lot of us went to Bendigo, and a lot went to Ballarat, which was like going from Duxbury to Marshfield. There was
Right.
Just two towns next to each other. Type.
Mm.
Yeah. This is a gold mine area. That's why it was, And so there was two guys this house, two guys that house, another here. It was all whatever. And we stayed there for 4 or 5 days, I guess, while the big shots were doing the paperwork of what to do. Because now the Japs are headed for New Caledonia. And the Navy is trying to hold them, and the New Caledonia has Free French and Vichy French. And depending who got there first was the way it was going to go. And it's an island with tremendous mineral reserves and all of this sort of stuff. So that's why we only stayed in Australia. Oh, then they broke, some of the guys went north to northern Australia, and we went back to Melbourne and then got on ships another 4 or 5 days to New Cal. And we got there before the Japs, and the Navy had a big Coral Sea battle.
Yeah. They lost a lot of ships, and they lost a lot of ships.
Yeah. Well, that was what saved New Caledonia from becoming another Japanese
Territory.
island.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, we were just hardly getting our sea legs to land legs, and we were out in the country trying to set up protection and gun positions and this and that. I was up in an OP, one of those mountains, which, you know, was a big ridge saying, okay, there's flashes out there in the ocean way off and all that sort of stuff. But they didn't get there. They did get stopped.
Mm.
So now we went into real serious training. And it was serious, you know, and not only that, but then down in Noumea, which is the harbor and the only city, was now United States supply spot. So everything coming in there to be split up and go where it can. And so we were there about 4 or 5 months. I can't give you an exact date, I guess. No, that's after the, okay, this is when they went to the canal. Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know the date, but it's handy anyway. Now, the United States Marines decided that they were going to try to take back Guadalcanal because it was an airport. And it was the nearest, the airports had to, they could only, the planes could only fly so many 400 or 500 miles,
Yeah,
so that they could go out and then come back. So that was the nearest one to where they could get back to either Australia or New Zealand or whatever. And so the Marines went in and started playing around with the Japs, and it was getting kind of rough, and after a while they were getting kind of down in the number of people there. So the headquarters decided that they had to be supported. So we were the nearest thing, so they activated us from New Caledonia and took not the whole division, but they we were still only a task force then. Now they're going to take units, and so they took an infantry regiment and some artillery and a few other things, and shipped them up to Guadalcanal to help the Marines. And so after they got up there, I was still back in New Cal, because I say they only took some of us. And that's when they said, now they had to make us a division to make it official, whatever. We couldn't be a task force. So they needed a name. So they were asking around, and somehow or other, somebody said, well, American troops in New Cal, why don't we call it AmeriCal? That's where that came from. No number, strictly a name only. Okay, so now, is that my telephone?
Yes, it is.
Is that yours or mine?
No,
Yours.
that's yours.
Let me get it because I,
First, ready to go.
the first group of troops that went over to relieve the Marines, and then the Marines needed physical and mental help. I mean, they, you know, I don't want to mention my idea of how the Marines are and the Army is, I don't want to get into that thing. Okay, so the Marines left, and now the rest of us went up. Now we get a whole division, and we can work together with each other, because that's what we've been training for all along. Now, just while we were there, the very first place we went to was in the area of the airport. There's two airports, the Henderson and the fighter strip. That was the open area, and we needed, for our guns, we needed space.
Yeah.
That was great, except the fact that we'd be in a fire mission, and the planes would be coming in or taking off, and we'd have to stop in the middle of a mission. This was, this is, whatever. So, that didn't last long. And not only that, but every air raid, the Japs had air strength. They were in charge of upstairs.
Yeah.
And we took a pounding.
Yeah.
So, naturally, they would go for the airport. So we were.
You were targets.
So, all right. So, now somebody said, we gotta get out of here. So, the only place we could get that was at least was back on the beach. We were right on the beach. From the high tide to the one road that went up to the coast. That's where we saw those things. So, we moved over there, and now things started to smooth out. We could shoot and all that. Got the air raid still, and in fact, we get somebody didn't pick up one of the planes. They came in low. I mean, they were 100 foot high.
Wow.
Just clearing the
The
trees.
trees.
And I can picture we didn't get the condition red. And we were all kind of sitting around, so to speak. And 3 planes came in and right down the line. And I swear this is the guy upstairs. Wherever I was right there. I turned around and I heard it, and I looked up, and here they are, bullets coming out both sides of it. I just dropped down. Now, it was over in 3 seconds.
Right.
But anyway, they
It's
got,
unbelievable.
yeah. So anyway, we did our shooting and whatever, and we eventually killed all the Japs, and to the point where they were nothing. And the next move is we were starting to come up with malaria, jungle rot, dysentery, the whole physical and medical stuff. So they took the whole division in and shipped us to Fiji Island,
Fiji.
which is still over there in the tropics.
Yeah.
But it's a round island, 150 miles this way and 151 that way. One Suva, the capital, is over here. Latoka is over here with the sugar plantation. That's where the ships loaded up with the sugar stuff, and we had got an airport there in Latoka, Nandi actually, and now we went there, and there was they had a medical tent 10 miles or so down the road, and we were just in basically the edges of the sugar cane, and we just did nothing. We just, and wound up just going every morning. 6 lane lazy report. Who has to go to the hospital for the malaria treatment, and I think I was a corporal now, so big deal. But anyway, joking aside, a non-com had to take whatever vehicle and take the sick to the hospital, sign them in, and then get the ones that were being released and bring them back. And one day it was my turn. So I don't know how many it went, but anyway, we got there, and I'm sitting at the desk inside this immense tent, which was, that's all they had, was just tent with the cots.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a nurse at a desk, and she's writing down and taking the whatever, and I'm sitting there, and she's asking me something, and I just rolled right off the chair, passed right out. So they kept me. So I had, anyway, but that, I mean, you can laugh now, but that was real serious.
Of course, malaria and
Yeah.
dysentery and all those.
So anyway,
the
we
conditions
stayed there. We did have better food because now we had good cook. Out over the canal, nothing. We were, that was spam, if you could take it. I mean, it really was a serious, anyway, okay, moving on. So eventually we started to improve health-wise. We didn't have to do anything. There was nothing to do. There was nothing. Sugar cane, miles of that way, and the ocean. Well, the ocean was 300 or 400 yards. It was out of sight, but So we just sat around. It was very dull. There was nothing we could.
Boring.
Yeah. So eventually we got built up, had to, because we were getting lazy. And so now the things are getting serious, so they need another airstrip. Well, the nearest within the range of the thing was Bougainville, which was another few hundred miles in the Solomons, north. So that's where we go, Bougainville, the whole outfit. Plus, now that it's started, and we were there, oh God, we were there a long time.
So you were in Bougainville for a long time?
Yeah.
When was that? What month? would you say? Or would-
And this, according to this, I would say, in 40, the late 43, November of, somewhere in the late November of 43. And that was the chaps had to keep that island because that was their only big spot and all that. So it was, we had, how would you put it? It really was first class war. Now I, as an individual, got away from the gun crew position stuff that I was on as a recorder and whatever, and now I was part of the communications, which meant going out to OPs and
OPs, Jack, what is that? What is-
observation post.
Observation post, okay, yep,
You know,
Yep.
so you went out to a high spot and you looked for whatever the,
It's mostly the
Actually-
ships. I mean, is that what it was? Or
well,
on the
no,
island
the
itself,
jungle.
so the jungle, okay.
Well, you'd be looking for gunfire, you know, big guns,
Yeah.
like ours,
Yeah.
yep,
big flashes. Or there'd be a infantry patrol
yep,
going out on the trails and whatever. And we'd have to have an artillery guy, a radio guy, normally an officer and another guy and a radio guy would go along with the infantry. I don't know how many times I was, but anyway, that was what I was doing now. And in between, when you were back from the patrols, you went to like an OP.
yep.
And that was my home. I didn't even know what the guns were. Really, it goes. So we were there, oh God, we were there almost a year.
Wow, I
And
can associate with.
there was a lot of action. The
So Jack, you were in the jungles too.
oh
Doing-
yeah, it
You
was.
were, yeah, yeah,
In fact, one of the patrols, I can still feel it. It makes you, here again, we somehow or other, we didn't communicate good enough. I'll have to admit, we were lousy in the communications because I don't know how many times I went out on patrols and I didn't know where the hell I was going. I had to wait until somebody said, here's the map that we're following, and naturally it was, they had the same map right there. And you take the coordinates and call it in, you know, whatever. But this one particular time, we went out for a whole day, and just before dark, at late afternoon, we called a halt, and we kind of get off the trail, kind of sit in it, and so as I say, I had the two other guys and me. I don't know where the officer was. I didn't. Anyway, that's it. So basically, to cut it short, the reason we were stopping there is we were up to the river, and they wanted to cross the river before dawn. So we were staying there. So nobody told us this. We're ignorant of the fact. So come morning, we're in a little jungle, I don't know, it was overgrown stuff.
Mm.
And I said to the guys, you see anybody? No. So we kinda had to look around, there was nobody. They took off. Didn't tell us.
Jeez.
So, what do? You sit tight for a while. Fortunately, somebody missed us. Maybe the officer who was supposed to be.
Notify you guys.
No.
Walk by it.
So they sent a patrol back, I don't know how many guys, a few guys, and managed to, every now and then they'd say, artillery, artillery. So we finally, yeah, okay. So that's, they moved us out. We crossed over the river. It was kind of great day, anyway. So then we went on to the rest of the patrol and all that. So things like that happen. And another patrol this one I was very nervous about. We were up in an OP that we could see thing. And we could see this volcano, the active volcano up there.
Wow.
So with our DC scopes, we could, so the blank side of it. So anyway, this patrol, I don't know, eventually we get to the volcano. I didn't realize. And all of a sudden I said, hey, there's one in the volcano. And we were walking around the side of it, and there's no cover. I said, gee, I said, if I'm up in the OP, I could see this. How about the Japs? They could see it. I was very unhappy at that time, believe me. That's one of the few times that I was, upset. Well, anyway, nothing did happen. But, anyway. And also on Bougainville, the Japs had the big, the banyan trees. You've heard the banyan trees? They're about 10 foot in diameter at the base, and they go up the thing. Well, the Japs managed to get a platform up, way up high, and that was their OP.
Yeah.
And so now we wanted it. First of all, we wanted to get rid of them. So now it's history. There's a $1 million tree. It took $1 million of ammo to blow it down and knock them off. Took 3 or 4 tries to take the hill and get it back. They would take it and they'd push it back. And I was on the next hill, which was like, I don't know, it wasn't too far. Maybe down to the end of the street.
Man.
These hills,
So a couple hundred yards.
Yeah, that's about all. Well, you could hear the small arm stuff, and so that was my position, but there was infantry. The front line of the infantry was right there, 10 yards in front of me, because that was the top of the hill we were on.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's my side of it. And, okay, history, from Bougainville, then Bougainville was a pretty big island. So they were having trouble down the other side, down from where we were. So somebody got the bright idea, well, let's take one gun crew and send them down to this other area, kind of in the open, as a sitting duck.
Yeah.
And we did, and I was just, our crew that did like OP work and radio work and all that, we had to have one guy there to stay in touch with the main outfit. So we were the sitting duck out there, and naturally, fortunately, the Japs didn't have too much ammo. They had a couple of rounds and they'd fire and wouldn't be too bad. So hopefully all these others would find out where they were firing from, and then we could, rest the outfit could fire back. Well, that didn't work out too well, although, well, anyway, it happened. And that was pretty near the end of the time in Bougainville.
And that was 1 year from November 25th, 1943.
Yeah, we were there about the whole year. Yeah. And, see, Bougainville. Oh, so now she put us, took us off the front line because another outfit kind of took over for the cleanup work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what number, but some other outfit. And then we get on ships and we went to Leyte, the Philippines.
Mm.
That was in Leyte was in was it 44? I would say late 44, and we went in there, and fortunately somebody had already been in and established an area, and we went in as support.
Okay.
And Haro, J-A-R-O, Spanish for one of these, that's how they, said it. The startling thing was, there wasn't much going on. It was farther on the island, and we were just getting there. And it was around Easter time. Now, what I remember is, there was a church that had half the roof gone, and they were going to have a service there, and very vividly remember going to church, and at the time it happened, carrying a rifle, going into the, well, it was wide open church, basically,
Yeah.
with no roof over it, and I, it was in my head. I said, this is terrible, having it done. But it turned out they had a kids' choir. It was fabulous, So that was a big thing to me, and the thing. But that didn't last long. Then they had decided that, I don't know how many of us, but the infantry was supposed to go from Omar to Valencia, like across this peninsula, to cut the Japs from this side going to that side. And big patrol, maybe a whole company or something. And I was the artillery guy. So anyway, that took 3 or 4 days for us that I can remember. A little bit of happened. That's where I got the Jap flag.
On Bougainville, or was it
Jack
the
has a
lady?
flag.
Lady.
Lady.
There had been some skirmishes and something, and the Japs had taken off, and we were going through the area to make sure nothing was, thing. And there was now I don't know if he was a Philippine army guy or whether he was just a Philippine civilian who was in the area, and I don't know why. And he was rummaging around, and he pulled out this flag. The Jap flag was, so I pointed, and I says, so anyway, but we eventually got Valencia, I think is what the thing is, which happened to be a medical, there was a church, good-sized church, and it was well, it was basically a field hospital.
Mm.
And we had been on patrol and whatever, and we were reorganizing now to kind of get back to where we should be. And naturally, we had nothing but our guns.
Yeah.
And there was a Lister bag. You know what a Lister bag is?
No.
It's a thing tripod
Mm.
with a water bag
Mm.
and a couple of spigots. Well, anyway, gotta get some water, because we only had our canteens that hadn't maybe been. So anyway, we get over to the thing, and there's a sign, Red Cross, Coca-Cola, 5 cents. Oh, gee. That was almost another war in itself.
Jeez. Fighting everybody off trying to get a Coca-Cola.
But, so, there was a little bit of, we didn't get any, but there was, some of the guys wanted to bayonet the bag, because, you know, anyway. So I don't remember, there was MPs there, that was right, there was MPs there, I don't know, not that we gave a damn, we had more firepower than them. But very vivid, it is, you know, just like we are here,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's how strong it was.
Mm.
So eventually, we get cooled off and we head back for where we were supposed to be. And we were back at our position, and I got called up to the headquarters, and I don't know why me, but anyway, until I got there. And headquarters said, "You're going shipping out." Just me and sea battery, I guess it was. Anyway, so in a day or two, get together. A day or two, we're down and get on a. I think it was an LST, some kind of a small boat, and sailed for like one day, and we landed on Cebu, which is another CEBU.
And that was just you and like a few other guys?
Our battery,
Your battery.
but there was also infantry guys too. They were, but see, I'm only interested in myself.
Yep, I understand.
And so we were the artillery. If the infantry get in and set up, we were the artillery to back them up.
We were the support.
And quick hurry. Should I leave it up there? No, maybe I have a, it's a,
I think we're still,
What's
Get-
that?
okay, I'm gonna close it off for a second.